So let's get right into this. There is a new bill that has been presented by Democrats to the House, and it's pretty spicy. And the reality of it is that it pushes promises that I think some are really good, some are they just didn't turn their brain on, and that's okay because we always rely on Democrats to kind of push forward the agenda, the future, the thing that we want to see related to innovations that help us. Now, I want to make something pretty darn straightforward and clear with this situation. Okay. First off, very important, these Democrats who made these promises, they made it on basically what's called H.R. 4734. Again, H.R. 4734. So if you want to look it up, just go to congress.gov. Easy peasy. Now, what it's called is the Hands Off Our Social Security Act. Good title. Democrats tend to be the masters of finding really cool little catchphrases and using that to basically like really pummel the Republicans. Trump tends to be good at it too, but like other Republicans have not been really good with that. And the Democrats, they get these bite-sized little bits and they float, they sell. They're solid. Let's go through essentially what this bill is and what it promises so that you kind of understand exactly what's going on. And remember, this is not some like whatever bill. This bill already has 34 co-sponsors. So just to before you sit back and you're like, oh, this is never going to go anywhere, nobody likes this, whatever, it's 34 co-sponsors. So that's a really strong start for a bill. Now, I need you to understand something because I think it's pretty important with this situation. Democrats usually rely on three things to get votes. Number one is women's rights. Number two is minority rights. And number three is Social Security benefits. Those are like the top three things that they use to get votes going forward. As a result of that, the Democrats have been really struggling with finding their pace, finding their rhythm with getting people back on board with voting for them when it comes to Social Security benefits. And that's because Trump basically promised to pass the Social Security Fairness Act. Biden passed it literally just weeks before he left office. That's because Trump passed these other things that, essentially keep the elderly from paying, taxes on their retirement benefits if they're under a certain financial threshold. So the reality with this whole thing is that Trump has been nibbling at the territory of what Democrats usually hold near and dear and use to kind of keep the Republicans away from their center nugget of their votes. Let's go through it real quick. Here's exactly what it says. To protect Social Security benefits and ensure the continued effective operation of the Social Security Administration. Okay, from U.S. Government Publishing Office, H.R. 4734, introduced in the House. It was just recently introduced like a week ago. It's fresh. It's really fresh. Okay, let's go through it real quick. In the House of Representatives, July 23rd, I guess it's 2 weeks, July 23rd, 2025, Miss Stansbury for herself, Mr. Nguez, I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time pronouncing things today because I'm so tired. Mr. Larson of Connecticut and Miss Johnson of Texas introduced the following bill, which was referred, and it may move from there, it may die from there. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. Do you think this bill has legs? Do you not? As we go through it, let me know what you think. To the Committee on Ways and Means. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to skip a lot of the stuff. I'm going to hit you with the purpose, and then we're going to go right into what the promises are that they're promising you with this bill. Remember, this was introduced by Democrats. It was not introduced by Republicans. I don't think, let me check real quick. I did a quick scan. I don't think there's a single Republican that supports this bill. Hold on, I'm not seeing any here. Let me just do some quick scrolling real quick. I'm not seeing here any. No, not a single Republican has supported this bill. So bottom line here is this is a Democrat only, solely the D team pushing this particular bill. All right, purpose. The purpose of this act is to ensure that the continued effective operation of the Social Security Administration and protect Social Security services for all Americans by prohibiting tampering with benefits, unauthorized data mining, privatization efforts, workforce reductions, office closures, and communication changes that hinder access to Social Security benefits. Right off the bat, my brain is saying, this sounds good. This sounds like it's hitting all the check boxes. But then my lawyer brain is going, hey, wait a minute. The last people I really want in control of Social Security would be Congress when it comes to basically controlling it that tightly. Because most congressional peeps, right? Your House reps, your senators, stuff like that, they don't know bleep about Social Security. That's why I keep getting pushed to go into politics, because I'm one of the few people who has a really, really deep understanding of the entire spectrum. This isn't a gig where, like, it's just some SSA employee that worked here and doesn't know all of this, all of this, all of this, and all of this. It's not one of these individuals that, like, they're kind of cute and they say nice things and they'll get voted in. And I'm not cute. I've had to do the Social Security, hearings and reconsiderations, ALJs, work with all different kinds of people. I do all those 1 hour private sessions where I get very unique situations. I've had to put the deep boots on with learning this system. And as a result, I guess the big thing that I would say is I get nervous when I see essentially people pushing the identity that House reps and senators should be the only ones able to pass or push things related to Social Security. There needs to be some sort of wiggle room that allows the Social Security Administration to kind of get things going and pass little rules and stuff like that to help it actually process. But then at the same time, we've recent legislation that says, hey, you administrations, you cannot create law. So it's a tricky, gridlocky thing, because if we rely on the House and Senate to pass things, they'll never pass it. They'll be stuck, and we'll be stuck in the current game that we have. The Democrats promote that we just need to raise the cap and everything gets solved. The Republicans keep saying we have to cut taxes and cut this and make people retire older to be able to afford it in the future. And what they are is they're basically shooting themselves in the foot, right? The classic phrase, they're not getting anything done and they're hurting themselves at the same time. Because if we leave it up to the House and Senate to fix Social Security benefits, the program will ultimately wither away and become basically an incompetent, disgusting puddle of something nobody wants. And we're already at a very high percentage of people who don't want it in the way that it is. In fact, I haven't actually met somebody who likes it as it is, which is kind of a weird thing. Because if you go back 20 years, people were like super cool with it. They're like, yeah, it's awesome. You go back before 1980s, they were like, yeah, this is great program, super dupe. So let's go through this real quick. Number one, prohibition of tampering with Social Security benefits. No federal officer, special government employee, or contractor shall alter, withhold, or delay Social Security benefits in any manner that is not authorized by law. Any action to modify Social Security benefits shall require an act of Congress. Well, that would mean every single policy decision, every single policy update, every time they have to respell something correctly when they release it this time, would have to go through Congress. This would kill Social Security benefits, because remember, it has to be able to flow with the needs of the people and what the programs internally can do at the SSA. Because when Congress passes something, then you got to build infrastructure to make it work. You got to have computer programs customized. You got to have training per personnel, and you got to piss off a bunch of recipients and then somehow convince them that's going to be better, which ain't really something easy to do. So let me read it to you again. And sorry, that's my ACU and it's crapping out on me. I have to get more funds to get a better setup. But bottom line is this, let's go through it real quick. Again, prohibition on tampering with Social Security benefits. No federal officer, special government employee, or contract, that's a hit towards Doge, right? That's what it is. Or contractor shall alter, withhold, or delay Social Security benefits in any manner that is not authorized by law. Any action to modify Social Security benefits shall require an act of Congress. That would effectively kill the agency from updating itself to actually functionally get your benefits. So that would be a moronic thing to pass. And once again, please remember, these congressional people, they're smart people, but they don't know shit about Social Security. So at the end of the day, when you pass something as striking, as aggressive, as cutting as any action to modify Social Security benefits shall require an act of Congress, you're basically setting it up to fail. You're basically setting it up so that it couldn't achieve something better. All right, here's promise number 2. Okay, next one. Prohibition on unauthorized data mining and privacy violations. Okay, now first, before I go into this, please remember to like and subscribe. And also, please give a shout out to Princess Diana. She did a $20 donation, which is absolutely, absolutely massive. That's amazing. I super appreciate it. So please give her a heads up and a happy. And please remember to like and subscribe. All right, so here's the next one. Prohibition on unauthorized data mining and privacy violations. No federal officer, special government employee, or contractor shall collect, share, or use Social Security data or personally identifiable information of beneficiaries or applicants for any purpose other than administering Social Security programs consistent with existing privacy laws. Any data mining or use of Social Security or personal data for commercial, political, or unauthorized purposes is prohibited. Violations of this section shall be subject to investigation and penalties under applicable federal privacy and data protection laws. Okay, so here's the problem with that whole section right there. The problem with that is that essentially we actually allow groups to access data. It's restricted in some way to study what's happening at the Social Security Administration. Sometimes it's a private firm to give us an opinion on something. Sometimes it's an internal governmental watch group. Now, if you are willing to say, hey, no federal officer, special government employee, or contractor shall collect, share, or use Social Security data or personally identifiable information of beneficiaries or applicants for any purpose other than administering Social Security programs consistent with existing privacy laws, you've essentially allowed the Social Security Administration to not be studied. And that is a dumb shit rule. And unfortunately, once again, we have politicians creating too much of an extreme, it is this way or it's the highway. So if you do this, we will not be able to bring in groups to study it and then improve it. And that is, once again, a very, very bad idea because it will ruin our ability to innovate Social Security fixes. It goes on, any data mining or use of Social Security or personal data for commercial, political, or unauthorized purposes is prohibited. Well, here's the thing with that. Every time an administration comes in, right, they basically data mine to politically figure out what arguments they want to make about, could be immigrants, could be basically SSI recipients, could be SSDI recipients, could be any of that stuff. So I don't think, to be fair, the billionaires that support the Republicans or the Democrats would really be okay with that provision. I just don't see it as an acceptable thing. Okay. All right. Next thing. Violations of this section shall be subject to investigation, penalties, yada, yada, under federal law. All right, let's keep reading. Next promise, prohibition on privatization of Social Security benefits and services. Now, look, if we leave Social Security benefits alone, the system fails, withers, and dies. So to leave it as government-backed, which it's not, because it can't afford to basically fix the trust funds once they run out. Like, that's the whole thing. We let them invest the money because we thought it was going to be backed by them. Now we find out they can't afford to back it, and they've basically invested the money horrifically, poorly, whatever phrasing you want to use. Let's read what they have to say here. No action shall be taken to privatize, outsource, or otherwise transfer Social Security benefit administration or services to private entities without express approval by an act of Congress. That's probably not a bad idea. We probably want something of that level, like privatization, to be an act of Congress. That's probably not a bad idea. Now, with that said, if we don't start investing the Social Security FICA taxes that are paid in, basically in a manner, in a form, in a direction that would be more like private investing, where they can make a lot of money, we're never going to see this program work. The dollar's been too significantly devalued. We haven't been saving. We've been hyperspending. We just hit 37 trillion in debt. We are on the brink of what I like to think of as the impossible. And yet we're still trucking. We're still trucking. All right, next thing. The Social Security Administration shall remain a federal agency responsible for the administration and delivery of Social Security benefits. I like that. I think the Social Security Administration, as it exists under the current system, which it might get voted out at some day, but you never know. My generation has no faith in it. Like the retired people are like, give me my social security check. My generation's like, we're paying for them. We're not getting anything. Like, this is ridiculous. So the bottom line is, right? I literally haven't met a millennial or a younger person who thinks that they're going to get their social security benefits. I have not met one. Like, it's been like 3 or 4 years since like I've met somebody who was kind of like iffy on it. I haven't met one over a longer period of time than it should be when it comes to actually using their benefits. So I think that's a wise thing. I think no action shall be taken to privatize, outsource, or otherwise transfer Social Security benefits administration or services to private entities without express approval by an act of Congress. I think that's good. I think Congress should be the one that actually has to go ahead and approve a change where we do more privatization. Now, if we don't privatize a section of investments related to Social Security, then Social Security benefits will fail because they will wither and die. You'll get less and less and less over the years. Okay, so we have to have it at some point, but I like the idea that something that big would be approved by Congress, as opposed to like them doing a side thing and an executive order and blah, blah, blah. I like that. All right. Next promise: prohibition on unauthorized workforce reductions at the SSA. No officer or special government employee of the federal government shall implement or authorize any reduction in the workforce of the Social Security Administration without approval from an act of Congress. Well, okay, so to be fair, like if they fire somebody, that's a reduction in workforce. So they're going to need to use their English skills and write out anything that would be smarter than that, because that is a level of too broad, incredibly short-sighted writing. Let me read it to you again real quick. And again, if you enjoy these videos where we go through this stuff, please remember to like and subscribe. Please remember to like and subscribe. All right, here we go. No officer or special government employee of the federal government, so basically nobody on the Fed side, shall implement or authorize any reduction in workforce of the Social Security Administration without approval from an act of Congress. So if they fire somebody, then they've basically violated this bill. If it became a law, they could be held liable to that. So they're going to have to actually be like, okay, reduction of workforce means any reduction of workforce over 1,000 people, over 2,000, 5,000, whatever people. Like, they're going to have to write it better. And again, please understand that the House of Representatives is filled with people who are just not super great at their job yet. And the weird thing about the House is that you get people who suck at their job, and then at some point there's like this little creamy spot in the middle, and then above that they're super great at their job where they become hyper millionaires off of using stocks and basically investments to make a bunch of money off of things that are about to pass into law. There's just this creamy little spot where they magically, like, boop, become millionaires over and over and over again. It's interesting. Next part to it. Any reduction in SSA staffing levels shall require a detailed report to Congress, including the anticipated impact on service delivery and plans to maintain adequate service levels. I like that. I like that. That's good, right? That's a good, like, we should have Congress looking at this stuff. Now, to be fair, at the same time, Congress doesn't really actually achieve a lot at the end of the day. They claim to review a lot of things, but they don't actually pass a lot of stuff. And when they pass a lot of stuff, both the Democrats and the Republicans shove it into a big, lumpy, zitty bill, and then they force it and shove it down the throats of Americans, because how else are they going to get all that stuff through? So the point is, I don't know if Congress can be trusted with properly running the Social Security Administration. They just don't know enough. Like, it's just weird that we don't like have an agency within the federal government. And I guess you might call this like the Office of Personnel Management, I guess would be it. Like, it's just weird that we don't have an agency that's like really studied up on how many personnel are needed to achieve a certain product workload. Because think about this. Have you guys thought about this for a moment? Okay, statistically, we know how much time it takes for somebody to answer the phone at the SSA, what the average call time is, what the average amount of like work that has to be done after each call is. We mathematically know exactly how much time it takes for them to do their work. So we also mathematically know, because of that, how many personnel would have to be hired to make the 800 number work properly, so that we ring them and in 5 minutes we've got somebody on the phone. We don't do that because they're trying to save as much money as possible by pissing y'all off and making you wait 30 minutes to an hour to 2 hours. Although sometimes you get them on the phone in 15 minutes. Like this, it's rare. Like if a Lucky Star shoots over your head and you're eating the right cereal brand, boom, it could happen to you. It could happen to you. Okay. So I don't know if there needed to be staffing reductions. And see, remember too, any reduction in staffing levels shall require a detailed report to Congress. Well, what's going to be in it? What's in that report? What are you looking for? You want to give me some details? You want to explain to me the ins and outs of this thing? You want to give me a little bit of understanding? Plans to maintain adequate service levels. Like, that's not enough. You need to detail and bullet point all the things you expect for them to go ahead and do. You know what I mean? Stop giving people a ruling that doesn't have a lot of bullet points of what you expect. But again, this is coming from people who mostly don't know how Social Security works. All right. Next one. Oh, Cyber Katie, member for 3 months. Priority response, which is amazing. Cyber Katie, if you ever have questions, please reach out to me. That's absolutely incredible. So, priority response is where basically they can reach out to me and I'll help them out with questions, stuff like that. So that's absolutely amazing. Super, super awesome. Okay. So the next promise that they're making, prohibition on closure of SSA offices without congressional consent. The closure or consolidation of any Social Security Administration office or field office shall be prohibited unless expressly authorized by an act of Congress. The SSA shall maintain a minimum number of fully operational field offices in each state proportional to the population served. I like that one. Because at the end of the day, we don't have enough staff to do in-person treatment. Like, we can't meet. They literally have to set appointments now because they don't have enough staff at these offices to actually take care of the people. And I think what most people lose focus of, because we're so used to the government kind of screwing us over and not giving us what we deserve, is that, let me give you an example. When you pay into, just an example, like a company that you buy insurance from, you are not required to pay that your entire life as you work. Like, you can change companies, you can switch things out, you cannot use them, you could not buy it. But when you call them, you expect them to get on the phone within 5 minutes, because that's, commercial private company. They better be on that. But then when you call the Social Security Administration, which you've had to pay into your entire life while you were working, you didn't get a choice. And you're going to get that little dinky check at the end of the year, right? The end of the lifetime, I get that much. That's the classic thing. I just hear it over and over and over again. You would expect them to achieve better than what the private organizations are doing, because they took more of your money for a longer period of time. So you're like, hey, wait a minute. And that's the thing. If I told you 15, 16, 17% of your check would have to come out in taxes, and it's going to go to this, and all you're going to get at the end of the day is that, you would never approve this program. You would never support it. Like, that check would have to be significantly larger, or the amount that they take out of your working earnings in FICA taxes would have to be a much smaller percentage. It would have to be like 5%. It's ridiculous. All right, so I don't disagree with the whole closing down of offices. I've heard a lot of SSA personnel tell me that, they probably could have lost some regional offices, but again, you need the regional offices to kick the field offices in the butt to get them going. That's the reality. Next promise: maintenance of multi-channel communication systems. The Social Security Administration shall maintain its existing telephone and in-person communication services and ensure its effectiveness as essential channels for beneficiary assistance. Any changes to the communication methods, including use of the social media platforms such as Twitter, shall be supplementary and not replace existing official communication channels. No communication services essential to the SSA beneficiaries shall be terminated or diminished without prior approval by an act of Congress. All right. I don't agree with this one, because here's the thing. With communication, we are evolving into a digital world. And so if you tell them that we can't really do this. I mean, I guess maybe to some degree this says, hey, look, you got to keep the same amount of phone people, same amount of in person, or you got to grow them or do this. I get it. I get it. But in the next video, we're going to cover the big demand from the Commissioner of Social Security Administration. It's a big demand on you. And I guess from my perspective, when I look at this, I'm like, I don't think Congress should have total control over the speed at which it communicates things to you. Yes, I think Trump took a sledgehammer and an axe to the Social Security Administration. No, I don't agree with it. The level of cutting was way too much. There was a chainsaw and he used it. I don't agree with it. But do I trust the federal government employees to know what's best for the communication methods of Social Security? I don't know. Because remember, if you get basically a group of people who just want to get rid of mail, like mailing checks, it's gone. They'll pass that. It'll be gone. I don't think the mailing of checks, there was a way to make checks able to be more secure. They could have put a mini chip on them. You had to put your thumb on it. The thumb matched up with you. Boom, the check goes to you. You're good. They could have done a lot of things to make the checks work. But the point is, I don't know. I feel like we're evolving too fast as a Social Security Administration to limit us to change what we're doing, what they're doing, based on having Congress like give you the okay. I don't know. I feel like that's a little bit too much squeeze from Congress. Next one. Enforcement and oversight. The Government Accountability Office, the GAO, shall conduct annual audits of the SSA workforce levels, Office of Operations, and Communication Services to ensure compliance with this act. The Comptroller General shall report findings to Congress, including any non-compliance recommendation for corrective action. All right. Okay, so here's the thing. Technically, OIG is supposed to be overseeing the SSA. And what they're saying here is they don't trust OIG. They want basically a government accountability office to oversee this. And the whole point of what we've gone through with these promises is basically they don't want the Social Security Administration to change in big ways without, Congress jumping in and saying, yes, we approve or not. But I guess my question to you is, how do you feel the House reps and the senators are going to get stuff through committee to pass it for the benefit of Social Security? I don't think so. They're going to hold that shit hostage for political reasons and never pass it. Like, the more power you give to Congress to touch Social Security, the shittier it's going to get, because they're just never going to let anything out of committee and pass it. They're going to hold it hostage and they're going to use it against the American people as a way to trigger stuff. And the Democrats will say, oh, Social Security is being destroyed by the Republicans. Well, I mean, they're definitely making it sluggish. They're definitely making it, have to trudge through some mud. But at the same time, they're slim and trimming it. They're putting it through a workout. The Republicans will say the Democrats have basically, put it on a death path where it could not survive, which is accurate. The Democrats basically have allowed the program to continue in a way where it could never succeed, and it will wither to the point where people don't appreciate it anymore. It'll wither in a quick way too. It's not going to be like this, slow. Once everybody starts to get a quarter less in their check for the retired people, and if they suck the disabled benefits into the retirement benefit trust fund, boy, I am telling you, people are going to lose faith in this program real fast, and that's not good. We don't want that. Last promise, severability. If any provision of this act or the application thereof to any person or circumstance is held invalid, the remainder of the act and the application of such provisions to other persons or circumstances shall not be affected thereby. What would I rate this act? What would I rate? Would I rate this bill in the sense of essentially, right? In the sense of it actually being potentially passed? I'd rate it a 0. There's no way it's going to pass. It's a underbaked attempt from somebody who's just not super strong on Social Security. I'm thinking about, if I get a little extra time, of rewriting it and then sending it back to her, because I think, frankly, she's on to something. She just needs some finer points on it. And I think the big thing too is that relying on Congress to save Social Security, that's just going to fail. That's just going to fail because they'll take too long. They won't put it through. They'll hold it political hostage. It'll never get out of committee. So I think that the Government Accountability Office, I think what we need is a team of investors, a group of people that people like vote in to work on this thing, who can be in charge of the to actually understand the program and the needs of it. Here's one of the things I've learned while talking to a lot of congressional leaders, House reps, senators, stuff like that. Number one, they all want to be a part of the solution for this incredible, amazing program. Number two, almost all of them don't know shit about how Social Security works. They don't have a clue. And they don't even know where to start to look to learn. Larson's got a great idea. He knows what he's doing. He understands how it works. He's been there. He's taken the tours. He's met the people. He's read the laws on it. He's got a good idea. But a lot of them have no clue how this thing really works. So, number one, they want to go ahead and be a part of the solution. Number two, they don't even know enough to know enough. And that's dangerous because if you pass this, you're going to have a bunch of people that don't know enough to know enough putting their hands on whether or not they're going to fix it. The other thing that I've learned about Congress and Social Security, which I think is very important, before I get to it, please remember to like and subscribe. Hit that like button. Don't be afraid to hit it. The other thing that I hope you kind of consider with this is that they don't understand how the programs interact with society. Okay, let me give you an example of that. If I said to you guys, right, if somebody is getting VA benefits, right, and then they've hit hard times and they get a divorce and they're in a low spot, should they be able to get SSI benefits? I don't think there's more than 3 or 4 people in Congress in total that could answer that question without having somebody whisper into their ear the answer. I don't think they could. Another question. When it comes to Medicare, what are all the ways that somebody can become eligible for it? I don't think there's anybody in Congress other than 3 or 4 people that could answer that without having to have somebody whisper in their ear. I really don't think they could. And that kind of points to me like if you don't know how these programs intermix with society, how they, basically interact with people, I think at the end of the day, what you run into is you don't know a subject unless you know the subject well enough to know how it will interact with other subjects. That's like a good, gratifying, I got this kind of momentum, right? When you can figure point A and point B and how they're going to attach and wiggle and move, you got it. And the other thing is, to be fair with these congressional leaders, they don't know how people get the benefits. Oh, they go apply. Yeah, but what do they need to apply? Oh, well, they get some of this stuff. Okay, but then what are the restrictions to actually getting it? Oh, well, they got to be severely disabled, and I think they need some quarters of coverage. They don't understand how this stuff actually works. And it's frustrating because it's like, yeah, what the hell? You know what I mean? And, and another problem, too, is that you get a lot of government employees that work for the SSA that want to then go into Congress and want to then change Social Security. And let me tell you some of the problems with that. A lot of government employees that come from Social Security Administration, it's a huge agency, a massive agency. And when you only live in this little area here or this little area here, like, you work as a field office rep here, you work as a policy person there, you work in OIG, Office of Inspector General there, you're a CDI unit investigator over here. When you have those jobs, you have no clue what all the programs are. You have no clue how people get them, the problems that occur with them, all that stuff. You have no clue. And so, it's in order to understand Social Security benefits, you've got to know the people that get them, the programs that exist for them, the adjudicators that limit access to them, the administrative processing that occurs at different levels, and also what is beyond the Social Security Administration. Because a lot of people that work for the government have zero knowledge of what happens to a claim when it goes beyond the appeals council. When there's a problem and they need a solution, and the SSA can no longer provide an answer. Then you have to go to district court, circuit court, Supreme Court. What happens then? And so that is a big issue. And that's why you see a lot of attorneys going to politics, because they're some of the few people that actually deal with the whole spectrum situation of what's going on. But the problem with attorneys is that they can be snooty, snarky, fluffy, narky butts, and they're not cool. I hate going to lunches with attorneys. I can't stand them. So the point I'm getting at with this situation is, in order to have a successful direction with this, we have to get more people in Congress that actually care about Social Security benefits. No, the fake care that the Democrats constantly push as an agenda as part of their 3 faculties to get votes, women's rights, minority rights, and Social Security benefits, that's not real. That's not reality of knowledge of actually knowing what's going on. It's like somebody like Martin O'Malley, right? Commissioner Martin O'Malley at the time, he'd be a great option as somebody that's, in Congress. He'd be a great option, right? Somebody else that basically, you take an individual on the Republican side that's worked at the SSA, who maybe, went out and worked for a policy center, trying to learn more about it, stuff like that. That'd be a good option. That'd be a great option. So I'm just saying to you, giving Congress all this power where you have a lot of people who don't actually know how the program works, that's going to suck. It's going to suck for everybody. It's not going to be good. Now, please remember, I have partnered with a group, because I don't do Medicare stuff. I don't sign people up. I don't do that. I partnered with a Medicare group called Chapter. AskChapter.org/disability. You get free Medicare help where you call them. Let them have a shot at tuning up your Medicare. Just give them a call. It's a free call, right? If they can help you, cool. If they can't, it is what it is. Then that means you're on a great program. Give them a call, 339-226-6287. Again, 339-226-6287. The point is, I don't do Medicare stuff. That's not my gig. But I see a lot of my disabled people on programs where they're spending a lot of money on medication, or some surgery is like a little bit covered, but not totally. My point is, call them, be honest with them, give them the information so I can try and find something that's the best for you. They have access to the most potential programs in the United States. All right, right here, 339-226-6287. With that said, the next video we're going to be going through a recent hope and demand of the president of the Social Security Administration, known as Commissioner Frank Bisignano. Keep in mind, we'll do that video in about 10 minutes. Then after that, we'll go live to answer questions for free. Attorney Walter Hnot, the most viewed, subscribed to, and clicked on disability attorney in America. If you like these videos, do not be afraid to go ahead and basically head over to the business page and throw some stars up there. You don't have to, but I love waking up to those 5 stars. They're absolutely awesome. You don't have to, though. It's one of those gigs where you can do whatever you want. All right. Also, remember, at the end of the day, I go live on Mondays and Thursdays usually. The last 2 nights, I fell asleep at my desk working, and I was doing so many calls and so many hearings and so many private sessions that I was losing my voice a little bit, which I'm doing right now. So I'm going to grab a drink soon. And also remember, of course, we do those private sessions where people pay for an hour. They pay for half an hour. The little contract is in the bio link before. If you need to get access to my brain, link is below. I will catch you a little bit later. You have a wonderful, wonderful day, and we will rock and roll from there. Attorney Walter Hnot, give me 10 minutes, and we'll do the next video. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.